All right. First question. What's your name? The band. Sorry. First question.
What's that? Yeah.
First question. What's your name? The band or bands you've been in, and how long have you been part of the music scene for?
So I am the singer of Fake News. The band, I only just joined the band recently. They've been a band for a long time, probably 5 or so years, probably more. But yeah, man, I've been in the scene for a long time, probably be a couple of decades, I would say. I've played in a shitload of bands. Just to rattle off a couple, Vices for Virtues, The Final Fall, and I still play in, obviously, Fake News, play drums and nowhere else, sing in Hell and Whiskey, and yeah, that's about it, man. I just play music all the time.
Awesome. In your opinion, why should people go to shows?
Why should they go to shows? There's nothing else better than seeing a band, if you have heard of them or if you haven't. That's probably the best thing. If you've never heard of them and you're like, who the fuck is this band? They're fucking awesome. At that, you get that out of it. Plus, if it's a band you love, there's nothing better than seeing a band that you love. It's the best feeling ever.
So what are some of the good things about the music scene right now?
Well, I live on the Gold Coast, and there's not too many good things about the scene here. So we've lost so many fucking good venues just due to fucking corporations come in, they buy the venue and they just fuck off the music, which sucks. But there's still a few. You know, we've got Vinnie's, we've got another one just opened up. Funk, I don't know if it's ever left. Probably hasn't left, but it feels people are starting to get more interested in it again, which is good for us. Because DJs and indie music has just taken over. As you probably know from the internet and all that shit, it's not like the old days. But yeah, man, I think it's making a comeback, which is good. Kids are starting to realise that they're probably getting bored of listening to a computed fucking beat or something, so they see a live band and go, fuck, that's awesome. Who are they? I'm going to check them out, which is good.
So on the same line of questioning, what, in your opinion, could be improved in Queensland right now?
More venues. Just venues to play, if it's a new venue or if it's a pub. There's plenty of good pubs here, so we just need places to play. I think that would help to get people back on the bandwagon. Yeah.
So how is the music scene in Queensland compared to other places around Australia, like Sydney or Melbourne, or even around the world if you've played overseas?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play a couple of shows in Europe and London. That was with a band. We were only a band for a year. BWFA we're called. We didn't release anything, but Queensland. Well, Gold Coast, I think, because we're so it's small, but it's all stretched out. So, as opposed to Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane, city. Gold Coast, not really a city, but we're stretched apart, so it's a little harder to get people to shows. I don't want to go back to the venue thing, but that's definitely the big part of it. But yeah, I don't know. You seem to play Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and there's fucking way more people there. It's just, maybe it's the scene, maybe there's more people in the scene there. I don't know, man. I don't know what it is.
So what are your thoughts on the community aspect of the underground music scene and how everyone kind of knows each other.
Awesome, man. Even I went away for a few years in London, a few years back, and then I come back, just go to a local show, and it's like you've never left, man. It's a family. Everyone helps each other. If you don't know someone, they just come up and say hello, and fucking, bang, you've made a friend with another band, and you just all help each other out. You certainly don't get that in the biggest scenes, I guess. That's all controlled by managers and promoters and all that shit. So, yeah, it's underground scene is like a family, man. It's good. We're all here for each other.
Any crazy stories that have happened whilst playing at a gig or whilst watching a show?
Oh, fuck, plenty. Oh, Jesus, I don't know where to begin.
You can skip that question if it's too hard.
Yeah, hang on, I'll just sip some coffee and get my brain working. I wasn't supposed to go out last night, but yeah, feeling pretty fucking haggard. Thursday night special, bro.
Yeah.
Crazy thing. Oh, yeah, that's the first thing that pops to mind. Punk Rock Holiday. If you've never been, go. It's the best fucking festival ever. There's only, I think it's 5,000 people max. It's in Europe, and it's the fucking best festival I've ever been to. So many good bands play. Speaking of underground scene, I'm pretty sure the guy who puts that on is just some dude. He's not like a massive promoter. He's just found an awesome spot in Slovenia, I think that's how you say it. And yeah, the best festival. But the thing that comes to mind, I'm not sure if it was Strung Out or who was it? Wilhelm Scream, maybe. One of my favourite bands, anyway. They just got like 20 kids. They put helmets on them, and they were literally just fucking. Well, before they did that, obviously safety reasons, they just got everyone to come to the stage and just said, "This is our kids' first, not only festival, first fucking live show. How good would this be if you're a kid?" And they're like, "We're just gonna throw them. We just want you to catch them and make sure they're okay." And man, it was fucking sick. I think it was Wilhelm Scream. They started the set, and they were just fucking throwing kids. It was fucking, it was just an awesome feeling. Just, everyone felt like a kid again, and yeah, that was probably one of the best things I've seen.
In your opinion, do you think the underground should stay underground?
Oh, that's a tough question. Possibly, I don't know. In one aspect, yes, because I guess it's almost like I'm trying to think of a band here. Well, Rise Against, perfect example. It's almost like you sell out if it doesn't, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I don't know. I can't really answer that. I don't know. Yeah. It's good that it is, but if it starts to get known, then that's a good thing because more people will come and get into the punk or hardcore, whatever you're playing. So yeah, I don't know, man. I can't really answer that.
So, what are your thoughts on bands that started out on a small, small underground local level and have suddenly shot up due to like Triple J or just a shitload of people finding out about them?
It's cool. I mean, I wish it happened to fucking any of my 20 bands I've played in. But that's not the point really. We play because we love what we do, and we're not going to stop. We're all in our late 30s. Some people say punk's fucking dead or you're too old to skateboard. And I say fuck you to all that because the day you stop moving, the day you stop making music is the day I won't be alive. So we just keep pushing and doing what we do. And yeah, man, I can't stop thinking of Rise Against because I heard a podcast the other day. But that's a prime example because they come from not Fat Records. They used to be signed to some other smaller but awesome label, and then they got signed to major label, and their music changed fucking massively. I don't even like it, to be honest. So I guess that's just an example. I don't know if it's selling out. I don't know. It's a tough question. So because do you want your music to be heard all over the world, or do you just want to be true and just fucking play in your little bubble that you got? I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Very tough. I don't know, man, because I've never had the offer, so I won't know until it probably happens to me, which it might never happen, which I don't care. Because I don't do it for money, man. We do it because we love the music, so yeah. That's it for that one.
Fair enough. It's a good answer. Definitely a unique one. I haven't heard that answer before. It's definitely a unique one.
Yeah.
So what are some venues that are good to book shows on, to play, or even just to go and see bands in the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah, so Gold Coast, Vinny's Dive, number one. Fucking cool venue. Their first show, I don't know, was it a year ago maybe? Probably more. Actually, funny enough, fake news, I wasn't in the band at the time, but they played, and it was no fun at all. Sold out show, fucking awesome. That was their first show. They hadn't even fucking painted the place. Wow. The bar wasn't even finished. Fucking, the speakers weren't even plugged in. Bang, they've got no fun at all, and it was the best fucking show ever. So, yeah, guys around Australia, all the world, if he's come to Gold Coast, hit up Vinny's Dive. It's small, so it's punk, it's good. Then there's my good mates own Eddie's Grub House in Coolangatta. That's my favourite bar because I can literally throw a stone at it, so that's where I was last night actually. So they do actually Top Novel, fucking awesome band. They just played. They have had Gum out there. I think that was just a one-off because it's mainly just acoustic shows and blues, rocks type of stuff. But every now and then they chuck on like a acoustic punk show, which is cool. I actually played with Top Novel last week. That was really awesome to see them.
Oh wow!
Acoustic, because they're good. They're the Australian Rancid. That's just they're awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. I've seen him a couple of times.
Yeah.
I actually interviewed the singer for the Stocko, Didi.
Oh, Didi. Yeah. See. Yeah. Nice guys too.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So, what are some bands from the Sunshine? Sorry, what are some of the bands from the Sunshine Coast that people should be listening to if they're not already?
Did you mean Gold Coast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're from, bands. God damn it! You know what I mean. Fucking hell.
Well, actually, I'll go back to Sunshine Coast. Listen to Blister, you bastards. I'm pretty sure they're from Sunshine Coast. They're still going, so good on them. Fuck, man, Gold Coast.
Or just in general, some bands.
Yeah, every band I think of has either stopped playing shows or well, fuck these guys. They're one of my favourite bands. They started playing again. I see them. What's that? Schooner or Later, I think, in Sydney. That's also, it's on the Gold Coast, but that's a cool festival. They had Friends of Rhyme and Stolen Youth played a propaganda set, which was fucking unbelievable. So that's a band to check out. I don't know if they're together, but they're definitely playing shows again. I'm just trying to think of bands. Amps, actually, they're brand new. They're a brand new band. They're pretty cool guys. Uh, I don't know, man. We're actually. Are you Melbourne or Sydney based? There?
Sydney.
Okay, yeah. So we're organising a tour next year. So yeah, we're hopefully going to play with Hack the Mainframe, Nerdling, who were fucking awesome. Geez, yeah, it's actually a sad story. There's not many punk bands, especially, well, there might be punk bands, but I hate this all this genre talk because fucking people come up with they're fucking post punk or fucking post. I don't even know what the shit means. We just played 90s style punk rock is what we played. Yeah, but on the Gold Coast, there's all these new, young, fresh out of high school grunge bands, I guess, call themselves punk, which, nothing against it, but I went to a show and there was nothing punk about it. I was like, this is just, it just felt like Silverchair or something, which is fine, but, yeah, not many punk bands. Every punk band I could think of are doing awesome, like Clowns. Fuck me, got signed to Fat, that's awesome, good on you dudes, that's awesome, they're a fucking great band. And you know what, I hope that's the start of something there. Hopefully Fat Mike or whoever else runs Fat Records, we're still here, there's still plenty of good punk bands in Australia, other than Frenzel, I think they've been signed for a while, so yeah man, hopefully that's a good change to come, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Because America has more money.
So, what are you hoping to achieve with your various bands and musical endeavours? Just to have fun, or...?
Yeah, fun, man. I mean, you always say you don't do it for the money, but I'm fortunate enough to play. I play blues and just classic old stuff and make a living off it. So at the same time I do that, I also play in my bands. Nothing really, man. Just living the dream, playing shows. You know what? There you go. That's a band that just come to mind. Who I'm not sure what they're doing, but they're an amazing band. Driven Fear. They're my bros. They're an awesome band. If you haven't heard them, check them out. Free Thinker was their last album. I lost my train of thought there. Where was I going with that? What was the question again?
What are you hoping to achieve musically?
Sorry, So they popped up because they've done everything that you would dream to do as a band. They've played with all their favourite bands, like Good Riddance, Strung Out. Probably heaps of others I can't think of. They've recorded albums. They never got signed to a massive label, but I think they were on P Records, maybe a couple others, and man, just to record music, play live shows, meet new people, see new bands, and play with your idols. Like that's all I ever want to do. If I did that, happily die tomorrow. Like if I could play with Ignite, probably is my favourite, Ignite, or Wilhelm Scream. There's so many of my favourite bands. If I could play with them, funny enough, Fake News have supported, I don't know if they supported Strung Out or Good Riddance before I was in the band, which I'm fucking spewing, so hopefully we get to do that again. So yeah, actually we played with Get Dead the other week. They're fucking awesome. And a band, to be honest, hadn't really heard much of them. 8-Bit, they're called. They're really fucking cool. We'll play with them next month at Vinny's. So check them out.
Second last question. So you've mentioned that you've been in the punk scene for a long time. My question is, how has it changed over that time? And in your opinion, has it changed for the better or changed for the worse?
I'd probably say neither, man. It's just global warming, dude. No, but it's, things change and you just go with the flow. When I was maybe 13 or 14, punk scene was fucking huge, and that's when I started. I started playing in a band, and everyone was 20, I think, and I was 14. I couldn't even do lead breaks, but I was just fortunate enough to grow up in that cool time in the very early 90s, because punk was getting played on all radios, and it was just fucking sick. I think I went to the last Warped Tour probably in Australia. I don't even know I don't even think they've had one for a while. I think that was in '98, and that was an eye opener for me. I was just in love. I just seen so many fucking good bands. There was motocross, skating, and I just seen that, and I was like, if that's punk rock, then fucking count me in. And haven't stopped since then, man. I've had bands come and go as they do, and I left. I said goodbye to a band to join this new band. It's a new beginning, so I'm actually excited because I've always played guitar and sang, and this band I'm just a front man. So it's really exciting, and I guess that's it for that question. Just punk, man. It's different now because I don't know. The scenes change. The fucking internet fucks everything. Back in the MySpace days, MySpace still works somehow. I searched my band the other day. It was fucking hilarious. But the only way you hear of a show is at fucking high school, or someone told you, there's a band playing, come and see them. And that's obviously changed a lot. Obviously probably affected the scene a lot too, because it's all about media promotion these days, man. As you can see, just got all my bands. Hey, fuck it, self-promotion. Fuck it,
Well, that's actually my last question.
I figured I'll chuck all my bands there, because, shit. If somebody goes, who the fuck is that? And bang, there you go.
That's actually my last question. Actually, plug your bands, plug your social medias and all that jazz, man.
Yeah, man. So, fake news straight off the bat. Instagram, Facebook. We've got good things to come. We just go to Bandcamp because, speaking of punk, we're just like, fuck it. We had these new tracks. We're like, fuck releasing them. We've got no money. So just chuck it online for everyone to have, because we just want people to hear our music and see us, obviously, because, people are digging it, then they're going to come and come support a show. So that's one. And obviously Hell and Whiskey, that's my oldest band, because funny enough, that's with Dickless. She's one of the owners of Eddie's. We've played in punk bands. That's probably my first or second punk band was with him. So punk and blues, funny enough, aren't that far apart. If you play a fucking scale or chords, you're just playing a fast blues riff. So and then nowhere else, we got big things coming too. I play drums in that band, and that's not punk, but it's heavy rock with a female vocalist, Jodie. She's fucking awesome. We got good things coming out very soon. What other bands am I in? I think shit, if I've missed any, sorry guys. That's the main three. I obviously play myself. Benny Whiskey is my name. I play everywhere. If I can't get a gig in any of those bands, you'll see me playing at your local pub. Playing not shit covers, because fuck that. I did that for 5 years and it's the worst. I just play blues, man. I slip in some punk reggae covers, obviously. Yeah. And I think that's it. That's all I can plug myself there, unless I can post a link.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. All right. First question. What's your name? And What's your band name? What's your band if you're in it? Yeah, let me restart that. What's your name? What's the band you're in? And how long have you been part of the scene for?
Well, my name is Tim Godwin. I front a band called The Social Norm. I also do a bunch of solo stuff, collabs. Been playing music since as long as I can remember. Probably a good 15, 20 years. 33 now. The Sydney scene, I've probably been in and out of the Sydney scene for about 5, 6 years, maybe a bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why should people go to shows?
Why should people go to the shows? Netflix sucks. It's boring. Like, I don't know. I suppose I'm like any artist, and I'll sit at home and wonder why don't people go to shows. And I suppose that there is a lot of music that's not so great, but I think in Sydney there's an abundance of really good music that's not attended well. I think in essence people should go to shows because people usually have a really good time. You let loose, you have a few drinks, and there's something purely magic without the wank about a live performance and actually being in the moment, seeing the imperfection, particularly in independent music. And for me, I like the smaller shows where you've got a band that's just getting off the ground and they really have to perform well. They haven't got management behind them. They haven't got a massive production team. It's a bunch of dudes or chicks playing some music that they wrote, and they're putting it out there to the world, and you can really vibe off each other and just really have a good time. I suppose that's why you should go to shows.
What are some of the good things about the scene right now?
Ooh, some of the good things. I think in Sydney at the moment, what's cool is you're seeing all these smaller cap rooms popping up like mushrooms everywhere. It can be doom and gloom about the lockout laws and what that did to the city and the nightlife. But what's cool is the inner west is kind of really buzzing in terms of music venues, in terms of small music venues. Also, the accessibility to recording and producing music, I think, is better now than it ever has been, and definitely now with the internet being the way it is. Like, I know for myself, I collaborate with people all over the world, so I suppose that's a really positive. Sorry about that. Should turn my phone off. Yeah, look, I think that's what's positive. Is there is a kind of ability to globally collaborate. I did a session recently with a guy from Sweden, and I met. Yeah, it was just an indie record, and we met over the web, and it's been really cool. So I suppose little things like that are really cool.
What could be improved?
What could be improved? Cool. I think what's hard about Sydney, there's not a lot of venues that have got a guaranteed sort of turnout. It's not like, there's probably a few. I don't think it's appropriate to name drop the ones that venues. I think that's not right. But there's a couple around, and it's really good because you play there. You know you don't have to bust your balls to get people to the shows. And so, how could you make this better? I hate to say it without name dropping any venues. I think bands, a lot are lazy, but a lot do work really hard to try and put the word out there. I think venues could actually promote shows a bit better and promote the music, and see the worth and what the bands are doing by promoting the gig and also promoting their venue. So in short, I think venues, some do it really well, some that probably need to up their game in terms of promoting the music and the bands that play as well.
How is Sydney compared to other places in Australia like Melbourne or even the other parts of the world?
It's not as vibrant as Melbourne, I'll be dead honest. I think the standard of music is, because there's less gigs around, it makes people more competitive in Sydney. So I think the standard of music is right up there. It's not like it was back in the early noughties or even 90s when there was gigs everywhere, and it's still someone like that in Melbourne. There's still bands everywhere. Overseas, I haven't really been out and seen overseas for a while. I wouldn't want to comment. I think there's a lot of great music in Sydney. There's not as many great opportunities as other cities. It's probably the easiest way to sum it up.
How has the lockouts affected the Sydney music scene, in your opinion?
Well, it's completely changed everything, I suppose, how people consume live music. I'll be honest, I wasn't hugely involved in the Sydney scene prior to the lockouts. I mainly started really sinking into the scene after that all happened. You lost the main CBD precedent where live music happened and where a lot of gigs happen really late at night, and it's like that all over the world. It's like, you've done what you're doing for the night. It's like, we make that decision, we're gonna roll on and go to a gig. That doesn't really happen in Sydney, because it just doesn't. In terms of the inner west, though, the positive is Newtown and places like that have kind of really upped. Even going out to Marrickville and further out, there's more gigs and stuff happening out here.
What are your thoughts on the community here and how everyone kind of knows each other?
My experience is good. Like, people are. Hey, can I take you back into Okay, I'll call you back to that half. Okay. Sorry, what's the question?
What are your thoughts on the community and how everyone knows each other?
I think pretty good. Sydney's not particularly cliquey. Well, it can be, but compared to other places, I think it's pretty open. I think there's a great appreciation of how difficult it can be to be an artist and to survive as an artist. I think the communication between bands, at least the ones that I like to work with, is pretty good. I find that you go out to regional centres, it gets harder, and people are probably a bit more ignorant about the difficulties of being a musician. Like, people in Sydney and Melbourne are all really good to communicate with, is what I find. There is a bit of competitiveness, I suppose, but I think it's more, everyone accepts that the scene is quite fragile and that no one really wants to go out of their way to screw over another band. So in essence, I think relationships is good, with the mutual understanding that it's really tough,
Any crazy story, any crazy things happened at a gig you're going to or a gig you've played at?
Yeah, all the time. And that's what's so cool about live shows is, to think of one, it's kind of hard. I just caught up with some guys down at the drum store that I've been mates with for ages, the Drummers Co-op, and I was just remembering a gig I played at Hideaway Bar when the house music started playing through the fallback system when we were in the middle of the bridge of the Social Norm song, and we just we didn't know what the hell was going on, and then got over that situation. Everyone just laughed. It was hilarious, and I was getting pissed off. And then again halfway through the set, all the power went down. So stuff like that happens. You might see weird people that had a bit too much to drink, take their clothes off or something. You never know, particularly in the West. Like, lots of different stuff happens. A lot of technical difficulties and screw ups is probably usually the funniest stuff that happens. And also, the charisma of the person fronting the band and how they kind of work around that. So, yeah.
Do you think the underground should say underground?
Well, it's not underground if it's not, right? You've kind of made it but failed. You've become a successful indie band, haven't you?
So what are your thoughts on bands that started out on an underground local level and they've shot up huge thanks to mainstream radio play, or a lot of people have just found out about them?
Look, I don't despise it by any means. Think of the really obvious examples of Nirvana, right? They were something that was meant to stay underground, but it became the biggest both still enjoy their music. I don't want to be hateful of any of that stuff. I mean, sometimes it can be really frustrating to see bands that you don't see as good or talented become mega successful because of their following. That's the nature of the beast, and as someone that's feeling their age a little bit, it is a younger man or younger woman's game. It really is to live singing. So there's a lot to be said for the prime years of one's life between sort of 18 to 25. All your friends are going out, and when you're a band starting out, that's kind of how a lot of this stuff happens. It's word of mouth with your friends and your friends' friends. So if you're young and you're watching this, get out there and get that single now, because when you're an old fart like me, it gets really hard.
So what venues in general are good to book a show on, or even just watch as a fan, music fan?
Name dropping can always be hard. I suppose the easiest thing is to say venues that I like playing around Sydney. I always love playing the Newtown. It's always great, well organised. I'm playing there in a few weeks. The Hideaway Bar is always really fun. I haven't played at Frankie's. I really love to play at Frankie's. I love that venue. It's really cool. It's rock and roll, I'm playing at Valve tonight. I haven't played there for a long time, so I can probably fill you in on that later. I really like Mosh Pit as well. It's really cool, and they're all kind of cool for different reasons. Like Mosh Pit, it's only new, but you can see it can becoming one of those institutions in Newtown. It's like only fits about 60 people and has one dunny, and it's. You would have seen a gig there for sure.
Yeah, I filmed a couple there.
You filmed a couple there, and it's like, how do you produce rock and roll in this tiny little room? But they do. They're the ones that come to mind. I mean, I think it's called Crowbar now. I haven't played it. It's called Crowbar, but it's called Play Stag when I played there last. It was always a good room. The Lansdowne's great. I've done a bit of production work at the Lansdowne. It's probably actually right up there as one of the best rooms in the country, to be honest. I mean, the rooms, there's nothing wrong with a lot of the venues. They're all pretty good. They have decent sound systems, usually have a decent operator as well. That's stuff that I like. Booking wise, most are pretty good, I'll be honest, in Sydney. Again, as you go to regional places, that sort of stuff gets harder. People aren't up to speed or as in the know about how difficult it is for a band to come from one place to another to play, and what sort of stuff that they need and expect is.
So what do you sorry, let me restart that now.
That's right.
So you mentioned that you have your own record label. What's the process of running Smash Dab Records?
What's the process? Lots of coffee. Look, for me, I wanted a platform I could release all the projects that I'm involved in under. It's still very much so at the grassroots level. At the moment, I've only released stuff that I own the recordings of, so it's in terms of licensing and all that sort of stuff, it's relatively straightforward. But I suppose the process of that, well, it's to create an umbrella to hold all my music under, and to have a brand identity which is organically produced music. I suppose for us, it's really important that it's it's a real drummer on the thing, it's a real guitar amp that's had a microphone thrown into it. It's not someone that can't sing that's had auto-tune to everything. It's real music. That's and I suppose the idea eventually it'll grow with more people, and eventually I can start having artists and actually be able to do more for them than they can do themselves by having a greater network, which is probably 1/3 of everything that you do. Is about who you know, jumping on opportunities. Like for example, this interview, I'm sure will pop up again in the future. So as a label, in the years to come, I hopefully it will grow and the network of people will grow, and that the process of releasing music then becomes easier because you're instantly going to be exposed to a network of people rather than just being some band that's releasing something on Spotify and it falls off the cliff.
So what are you hoping to achieve in the long term with your various musical products and Smash Dab Records?
Well, I'd like to see it pay for itself. That's number one goal. And I suppose that's with any creative person's goal is to see return of investment back to baseline, I suppose. And that might sound fair enough, but it's actually quite difficult to achieve in the creative game. I mean, it would be amazing to be able to live off music and do everything, and I think it's achievable. It takes time and a lot of patience and a lot of perseverance. But having said that, I'm also willing to accept that it can also just be a platform that allows me to produce my art and get it out there. Financial success is something that is not always coherent with an artist. It's not always what we deem as success. It's about being able to influence somebody with your ideas and art. So, in a few years' time, if I haven't got my return of investment, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it. I just probably won't sit hard and solitude as much. It's a difficult question to answer. I'd like to see it grow and get more people involved in it, and take the pressure off myself because I sole manage it pretty much at the moment. I've got a few people help me out, and hopefully see the projects get bigger and better, and with that, better budgets and all the rest of it.
Second last question. What are some bands that people aren't listening to already? Who should they be listening to?
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll keep it in Sydney. Man, I really love Red Gazelle. I really think they're a cool band. I saw them opening for Fuel a year or two back, and I was lucky enough to play on a bill with them. Super nice guys. The singer's got this amazing vocal range. They're really cool. A band that caught me off guard that I didn't think I would like because they're really intense metal are Arteries. I think they're doing a second record at the moment. Oh man, it's hard to say because there's so many. I'd like to shout out all the bands that I've played with and done great stuff with. What's really interesting is a lot of bands that have been coming out of Canberra, and it's somewhere I spent a bit of time and dished a lot when I was there. But now I'm actually seeing that there's bands coming out of there, which is really, really cool. Signs and Symbols is one that I really enjoy their music. They're really cool. They're from Canberra. I think everyone can, to pull a Molly Meldrum, you can do yourself a favour by going and there's a lot of Facebook groups and stuff of, Sydney underground scene or punk Aussie collective or, all these things. This is where if you don't know where to access this sort of music, is where you can go and consume it. And I'd encourage anyone to go and see it because you might be surprised that the independent stuff is on par with the commercially released stuff, usually a bit more interesting because it's not produced with the sole purpose of selling shit on radio. So it's just accessibility is hard because it's not on the radio. So yeah, I mean I'd love to keep name dropping, but I can't at the moment because I'm a bit tired. But I think the right answer to that is go out and find it. Unfortunately, independent music hasn't got the budget to market itself in the way that commercially, if you stay on kind of like the Blink-182s or the Kings of Leon or, those sort of Queens of Stone Age, massive big bands, we ain't got the budget to have it on billboards and to be, we don't have Universal cutting deals with the big radio places to put this music on there. So unfortunately, you have to find it, I suppose, and we do our best as independent artists to get it out there. But yeah, the right answer is look for it.
Last question, just plug yourself, plug your bands, your social medias, and all that jazz.
Oh, for sure. Well, actually, that's our last EP, The Social Norm, Generic Success. We've got a new one coming out in a couple of weeks. We're kind of grungy punk rock. On Spotify, Apple Music. We have some vinyl available on our Bandcamp and CDs, of course. We have a website, it's just thesocialnorm.band. Myself, Tim Godwin, I do a few collabs. I've put out a bunch of stuff digitally on Spotify. You can find my Facebook and Instagram. It's Tim Godwin Music. And that's probably a good place to see all the various projects and stuff I'm up to.
Alright, thanks very much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, starting with questions. Okay, first question. What's your band, the band or bands you're in, and how long have you been part of the scene for?
Good question. So I play with a few bands. I play with Speedball, we're playing here tonight. I play with Cold Adama, a death metal band from the Blue Mountains. I've been playing for maybe way too long. I'm going to reveal how old I actually am. But probably only been in the scene for the last few years. As most of the time I've played in a small town community outside of Sydney.
In your opinion, why should people go to shows?
Support your friends, get out there. I love playing with different bands, I love meeting new people, I love seeing the quality of bands that are actually out there. You don't see that stuff from your couch. I mean, people will sit on the couch and say there's nothing to do, like there's plenty to do. You just get off your ass and go to the show. Discover someone new and make some friends.
What are some of the good things about the scene in general?
One thing I love about the Sydney scene is everybody looks out for each other. We go to each other's gigs, we support each other, you know. The other week we played a gig and some people didn't bring this, some people didn't bring that, so, you know, this guy's letting that guy guitar lead, this guy's letting that guy distortion pedal. We look out for each other, and it's a community.
What are some things that could be improved?
I guess the scene can be a bit cliquey, and in my opinion, we're all different, you know, we're all individuals and we're all the same at the same time, so I feel like it should be more of a bond, there should be more of a cohesive group rather than singling out individuals in groups. I feel like the thing that could be improved by the group is to accept everybody into the group.
How is the Sydney scene compared to other places in Australia like Melbourne or even the world even?
I think the Sydney scene in particular is a little bit barren. There's not enough venues. Places like Melbourne are just like a flooded scene. There's so many good bands, there's so many good venues. There's such an outlet for these young bands to come up, and Sydney sort of lacks that. And we have like a handful of really good venues, and which is great. Melbourne has like a good venue at every other corner, so they have much more room for these bands to come up and improve within the scene.
In your opinion, how has the lockouts affected the scene?
Okay, my biggest thing with the lockouts is before people used to come to a punk show and then they'd go out to a nightclub and you know they'd party till 3 or 4 in the morning. Whereas now it's sort of one or the other, where before you go and see a few bands and then afterwards you go out for some drinks at a club. Well now, by the time the band's finished, you can't get into that club. So I feel like the lockout laws have affected live music in that people will now just go to the nightclub rather than support the local bands.
What are your thoughts on the community here and how everyone knows each other?
I think that's great, and I think there should be more of it. That support network is what brings people together, you know, like I was saying before, help each other out, support each other, go to bigger shows, share their pages on Facebook. It's a community and we should look after each other.
Any crazy stories that have happened whilst going to gigs or playing at gigs?
So many, but I'm usually the blunt of the story. It's usually me with my dick out at the end of the night, so I won't kiss and tell.
Fair enough, fair enough. Do you think the underground should stay underground?
No. I love what we have, but I feel like these bands that are making it mainstream, they're putting the spotlight on the scene, and that's what we need. We need these young kids to see these bands and then go, well, that's something I want to do, because without those bands making it big in the public eye, I feel like the whole scene's out of line, so we may as well just pack up our shit and go home.
Yeah.
We need those young kids coming through, the next generation of punks.
What are your thoughts on bands that have started at an underground, local level even, and have just exploded, gotten huge, and whether it be from like Triple J or...
My thoughts are of envy. No, good on them, man. As I said, we need that. We really need that in our community.
So, for Fat Rat Promotions, which is a promotion company you've started, what venues are good to book shows on, or even go to a show or play on?
That's a loaded question. I love going to the big shows at, Bombay Rock in Melbourne and Frankie's Pizza in Sydney, Crowbar, Brisbane, Sydney. Love those venues, but for me, I love the little dive bars. Like Finn's Dive on the Gold Coast, those little intimate, everyone's there for a specific reason to have fun, to support each other. So, yeah, I prefer those little dive bars.
What are some bands that from Sydney or even from Australia that if people aren't listening to right now, they should be?
Right, another loaded question. Sydney, I'd like to say the Plants. They're fantastic, and if you haven't seen them, you need to. Shit Kitties are one of my favourites. It amazes me that they're not in huge places already. Red Bee, if you haven't heard of Red Bee, then you need to do something more with your life. So that's Sydney, but then you've got like the bands from like Melbourne, like Murder Balls, I Have a Go. I've just Blind Man Death Stare. Like there's so much talent out there, and this is why we need to go and support these shows so people recognise it, and maybe we get more people in the mainstream media.
So, what do you hope to achieve with your various bands and your Fat Rat Promotions?
With my bands, I'm pretty much just out to have a good time, and like if I can have a good time and everyone else has a good time watching us, that's mission accomplished. With my Fat Rat Promotions company, basically what I set out to do is put a big band on a bill and then have a bunch of local, maybe unheard of, maybe unappreciated bands on the same bill, and shed a bit of light and maybe give them a little bit of an audience that they wouldn't have, just to maybe give them a stepping stone, So that's sort of my goal. It's definitely not a profitable business, but those are the breaks,
So what's the process of creating a gig?
Well, the hardest one can be securing the venue, because like in Sydney in particular, you've got a lot of bands out there and not a lot of stages to put them on. There's not a lot of venues, so it can be a little bit cutthroat. So the hardest part of putting together a gig is securing the venue. And then once you've got the venue, everything else falls into place. You've got a good headlining band, then there's a bunch of bands that want to play with them just for that publicity, just to get on the stage. A lot of the time they know they're either going to play for nothing or play at a loss, which is the case 9 times out of 10. But it's a creative outlet, and at the end of the day, you get off the stage, you feel good about yourself, you have a beer with everyone, get a little pat on the back, and it's all worth it.
And last question, plug yourself, plug your various bands and other doodads.
Nah, they're pretty shit, eh? Yeah, just come out and see a show, that's all I can say about that. Make a decision for yourself.
Alright, thank you very much. Alrighty, so my first question is, what's your name, the band you've been in, if you have been in one, and how long have you been a part of the scene for?
Okay, so my name's Darren Lane. I've not really been in a band before, but I have got a little project on the go at the minute. So I've got a few songs and I've hit up a few people. The band's called Jim, Jack and Johnny. So it's a work in progress, so hopefully you'll get to see some of it at some point in the future. I pretty much I do run Flat Cat Productions here in Adelaide. We've been filming in and around Adelaide for probably 2.5 to 3 years now. Any genre goes, but my go-to genre would be the punk scene. I'm old school punk. I'm 56 now. And yeah, back in the day, 1976, I was still at school, 13 years old when the punk scene hit the UK, and that's sort of where I started out. So that sort of changed everything when that happened. And I've always followed the scene. So we moved out here to Australia 14 years ago. I'm from Leicester in the UK, and pretty much been watching a lot of local bands and that since we sort of got out here, especially now the kids are grown and flown. It's sort of been a new lease of life, and it's a pretty lively scene here in Adelaide, and we love it. So yeah, that's my background really. That's where I've come from.
So in your opinion, why should people go to shows?
It's a great way of meeting people, I suppose, getting to hear some pretty cool sounds and some cool bands. And I think social skills are being lost as well. Obviously, I'm a lot older than some of the people that are probably going to watch this, but you need to get out and have a bit of fun instead of being stuck in front of a screen. You know, life's run by telephones and laptops and all that. If you don't go and support the artists and the bands, and you're going to lose them really in the end. I sort of feel like the punk scene gets a bit of a raw deal anyway, you know. I don't find the big radio stations play enough of the local underground scenes. There's some cracking bands there with some great tunes, and they just don't get put out there enough. It's a hard game to be in, even harder in Australia because there's not many people here, to be honest. You know, it's a massive country with a very small population. I often say to some of the bands that we talk to and we film that, you know, 1% to 25 million people isn't a lot of people, but if you went just to the UK alone, you're going to treble that 1%. So, you know, just being in a place where there's a bigger population is actually going to give you a better chance of fulfilling whatever you want to get out of the music scene. But yeah, I just think technology is probably destroying our social skills and stuff like that, and music is a great way to associate with people, and music is memories for me as well, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you go back and you have a great night, you remember it forever, and when you listen to them songs again, you can be saying, I remember last year when we went to that, or remember 10 years ago when you went to that. That's what music is to me, you know. It's memories and friends, so more young kids need to get out there and do it, I reckon.
So what are some of the good things about the Aussie punk scene right now, in your opinion?
Well, the bands in it and the people that are involved in it. They make it something special, you know. I mean, I've recently filmed a punk rock here in Adelaide at HQ. It's a 2-day festival run by Adrian Pegg from AP Events. It's the second year he's done it, but just the scene and the people involved in it. There's people from interstate come over. Some bands have been over for 2 years, but there's a closeness there. Everybody seems to get on. Everybody helps each other, and they're just genuinely good people. You know, they're enjoying themselves, and they're producing good music, and they all support each other. And it's a pity a lot of other things in life aren't the same as that. You know.
Yeah.
You need to get behind these people, and you know, you support them, and they'll support you, and that's it's really good to see.
So on the same note, what do you think could be improved?
The hard thing within the scene is actually getting the music out there to a bigger and wider audience, I think. You know, there's some great songs out there, but how we get that to a wider audience, I think that's the hard thing. I know we've got all this social media and what have you and that, but it's not controlled by small people. It's controlled by big people who probably more money orientated than the punk scene we're in. You know, a lot of it's DIY. But a lot of these people have got some great tunes and some great songs that should be listened to, you know. And I don't know how they get their outlet. I don't see any of the bigger companies promoting not just the punk scene, but any of the smaller scenes and what have you. And that it's almost like, we can't make any money out of you, so you'll just have to sort it out yourself, which is a great shame.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about the community aspect and how everyone kind of knows each other?
Sorry, say that again. The media aspect.
The community aspects of the scene and how everyone kind of knows each other.
Yeah. I think it's great. I suppose you can relate it to like a big sports club, I suppose. Most people, if you're playing at a club, then you know the people that are in the first team, the second team, or whatever. And if you're good people and you want to teach and help people, then those at the top, support those at the bottom as well. I like the fact that most bands within the punk genre will stay and watch the other bands. Quite often go to some gigs and the support band's been on, and they hang around for 5 minutes, and before the next band's on, they go. I think it's important that if you're playing on a bill that's got 4 or 5 bands on, you should be there for all of them, or as many as you can. And I think the punk scene pretty much does that. I know, harping back to the Punk Rock Festival, there was people from interstate, but they pretty much hung around for the whole day, on both days if they were still in town, which is what it's all about, You have to support each other and help each other along, and it was good to see on the Punk Rock Festival. The local bands are the same here, there's a lot of good bands that help each other out, play together quite often. So I'm not sure that's always a good thing. It's nice to mix it up and play with other bands, but, they know they're going to get an audience if they play with, if we play with this band, they've got a good crowd, and hopefully they cross-pollinate then, and the fans that like one band will go and see the others as well. So, it's good. It's good.
Any crazy stories that have happened whilst going to a gig or whilst filming a gig, or
Well, I can tell you back in the day when back in the UK, we used to get stopped by the police quite often. The time in the UK, like the late 70s, was Margaret Thatcher's Britain. So she was destroying a lot of the unions and that sort of thing. There wasn't a lot of jobs around and that, and we had sus laws. So the police could basically stop you on suspicion of whatever, carrying weapons and drugs and stuff like that. It was it was quite a violent time back then as well. And yeah, we used to come home from gigs in the city, probably do a 5 or 6 miles walk back home because we'd spent all the cash on the night. And we got stopped by the police a few times, and they searched us. And it was like, where have you been, lads? Oh, we've been to a gig. Well, who have you been to see? Oh, we've been to see Killing Joke tonight. And they didn't really have much of an idea of who these were, but over a period of time, they stopped us quite often, and we built up a bit of a rapport with them. But they never gave us a lift home, so that was a shame. We still had to walk home. But nothing too dramatic here in Australia. Most of the gigs, I've never really seen any bother, to be fair. Sometimes it's a bit difficult when there's a few in the crowd trying to film and that. I've balanced on a few tables here and there, and there's a few wobbles going on.
Yeah, I've done that too.
It's just part and parcel of it. But I've got an offsider now who I shove up front. So we've got 2 cameras when we film now and that. So being the older one of the 2, I tend to try and get myself at the back where I can get some decent sound, and he ends up the front right next to the speaker with his eardrums blasting out, and he gets pushed about a bit. He's all good with that. That's part and parcel of it. That's what punk is, it's getting in there and having a good time. So
yeah, definitely. Do you think the underground aspect of the punk scene, do you think bands should try and stay in the underground, or do you think that bands should try and get out of the underground? What I'm trying to say is, do you think the underground should stay underground?
It's an odd question. That I think it depends on. I think it depends on the bands and what they get out of it or where they want to go. You know, whether they're trying to make it a career, which is, like we said earlier, is always going to be hard here because there's not enough people. Especially with a genre like punk, where there's not a massive audience, but and probably not enough to sustain too many bands, if any, in Australia. I would have thought, a band that's into this sort of music that wants to make money, for me, needs to be in the UK and Europe or the States. I don't think there's going to be many bands here that can, get a career and earn a good living out of touring and what have you as a punk band unless they go overseas. So that's a difficult one for the bands, and it's a big commitment as well. If people have got family and kids and stuff like that, you can't always do it. So I think it's something that bands need to figure out pretty early on, and decide as a group whether they want to take the chance. At the end of the day, it can always come back. I've moved over here, been here 14 years, and one of the biggest things that played on her mind was, what if we don't like it? What if we don't settle? And the simple answer was, well, if we don't, we go back. We've still got family and friends over there. Just means starting again. Well, it's no big deal, is it? As long as you've got a roof over your head and people around you to support you, then you'll be okay. But the big question and the biggest thing to do, the hardest thing to do, is uproot and go to the other side of the world and take a chance. But if you want it enough, then I think you'll make it work.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I see a lot of bands here that have got some, for me, really good sort of vibes. I know there's a band called the Young Offenders. They've been and played on the Strummerville stage twice, Glastonbury, over the last few years, and I don't think many people in Adelaide even knew they were playing that, which I thought was a pretty big thing for them, and for the city really. But it didn't really get publicised, which again is a shame. But that's big corporates and that don't seem to see what the little man's doing.
Yeah.
There's bands here, Juliet Seizure and the Tremadolls. I think they're a really good band, and they've got some great tunes, and it's punk, but there's some girls backing vocals and that, and they've got a great sound. 2 albums in now. I think they would do well overseas. They've got a bit of a Ramones feel to them, and that it's a girl singer and what have you, but they come across really well to me. They're set up, they look good. Almost a uniform in the band, but they've got a lot of potential. But there's loads of bands here that have as well. It's hard to know how they're going to break out. Really, that's the hard thing, and that's what I don't know how they do it other than relocating. Hard call.
So, what are some good venues in Adelaide to go and see a show at, or even to film, like in your case?
Right. Okay. I suppose the two that I believe the iconic sort of venues are probably the Cranker, the Crown and Anchor, and maybe the Enigma Bar. Seem to have been around. They've certainly been here up for the 14 years I've been here, and people talk about them all the time. So they're pretty up there. The Cranker's not a bad place to film, but then I know the sound guy, Matty Hills, so he tends to let me set up right where he is as well. And the same at the Enigma Bar. The Enigma Bar, I find it's a little bit booming sometimes, probably a little bit loud, but the last few shows I've been there have been cracking. So, and they've had a good crowds down there as well. The Cranker always pulls a good crowd. The Grace Emily's a really good little venue. They've won awards, quite a few awards over the last few years. Again, they're not massive places. Cranker, I don't know, it's probably 150. I'm not sure what Enigma would be. The Gov, that gets a lot of sort of 800 people, so they get quite a few international bands playing there as well. The big one, the Thebby Theatre, that's 3,000 capacity. I've never filmed there. Filmed at the Gov a few times. HQ's just opened up. That's not too bad there. They've got various size rooms. I've filmed in 2 of them. No, in fact, I've filmed in 3 of them. So that's pretty good there, and that's an up and coming venue. Lion Arts Factory, which used to be Fowler's, they've refurbished, and they're getting good crowds in there as well, and they've upped the ante. So it's sort of gone. I think over the last 18 months, there's been quite a few venues sort of refurbishing and getting back out there, whereas a couple of years ago we lost a few venues and it seemed like there was only a few places to play, and all these other places have jumped on there thinking, oh, there's not many of them around, maybe we can have a chance and get going again now. So there's plenty of opportunities for bands here at the minute in Adelaide. There's plenty of places putting on shows, and it's good for the bands. I don't know how good it is for the venues, but the bands have certainly got a wider choice now. So yeah, there's plenty of places around. There's a couple of real DIY punk venues as well. There's one called the Yard of Retard, which really is like a typical DIY punk venue. You're literally playing in someone's backyard. It's in an industrial area, so they don't upset the neighbours, and they have some good shows on there as well. So yeah, plenty of places to play in Adelaide. Interstate bands need to get over here and get up there and show us what they can do.
So you run Flat Cap promotion. Sorry, brain fart. So yeah, you run
Flat Cap Productions, yeah.
Yeah, Flat Cap Productions, which is a videography production kind of thing. So my question is, how did you get into filming gigs, and what's kind of the history around Flat Cap?
Okay, so a few years back, probably it might be longer than that, 3.5 years ago, I went back to the UK just for a holiday. Catch up with one of my mates who was in a band called English Guns, and I'd got a GoPro with me. He'd got one with him, and we set up these GoPros just for a bit of fun, really. So I came home with the footage from both of them and had a mess around with them and sort of got them to a gig type thing. Showed the kids, and the kids, being a bit more technical minded than me, helped set up like a little YouTube channel and what have you and that. So I was also, I still am, I'm good friends with Carl Landman from Young Offenders, and I knew Mick Manning, and we decided to do a couple of interviews down at the Cranker. So that was sort of how it started. It started from a little GoPro thing, and then I did a couple of interviews just to basically put on the YouTube channel. I was borrowing my daughter's camera at the time, so that Christmas I got my own camera, tripod and all that, and it sort of went from there. So basically I try and do 3 things with bands now. If I can, I'll try and do an interview, and at the interview we'll try and get an acoustic teaser, and we try and film them live. So the little acoustic is what we put up first to try and draw people in. A lot of these, we don't just do punk, we'll do anybody really. We're not we don't mind who we talk to. Any genres is good, We're open to anything really. But it's funny when the punk bands come in and we say, do you want to do a little acoustic? Oh, no, we don't do acoustics. And I'll say, well, you might be a bit surprised how it actually sounds. And most of them come out really well. We've just done one for the packets. That's getting up towards 3,000 views. The interviews at 17 or 1,800, and I'm just finishing editing the live gig. They've just released a mini album as well, so it all helps them. What we tend to do, because we do merch and that as well, so 9 times out of 10, if bands come and get a bit of stuff off of us, then we film them for nothing. So we don't really get paid for the footage we put up, so we rely on people getting t-shirts and stuff like that from us, hoodies and trucker caps, badges, stickers, stubby holders. That's pretty much what we do at the minute. But it's not a full-time business. I work 6 hours in the morning as well. I'd like it to be, but you know, it's the music industry, so that's how it is, you know.
Yeah.
But it's great fun. I love it. I meet a lot of people. You know, I met the guys from the Cockney Rejects the other week, so they were pretty popular back in the day when I was over in the UK, and it was really good to meet them. They say you shouldn't meet your heroes, but they were really good blokes, top blokes, nice to talk to. Couldn't do enough for us, so that's what makes it worthwhile, you know. We've met the guys from XSLF and Booze and Glory. They stayed over for a couple of nights on their first Australian tour. I think we've been pretty lucky with that, getting sort of the first gigs here in Adelaide, which we've enjoyed. And if we can get it done quick enough, it helps promote the rest of the tour for some of these guys as well. So word gets around and it picks up, you know. But that's pretty much how we started. I don't advertise it as anything other than DIY. I'm from a punk background, and that's what it is. We do it ourselves. It's a learning curve. Footage is getting better over the years, but we'll still balls up. We'll still mess it up. But I don't think there's a problem with that, you know. And it's like the interviews. We don't really edit anything. And I tell them before, you know, I could have a senior moment and forget what I'm going to say next. It happens, but that's how it is, you know.
Yeah, I know
that's
what you mean.
Of it. It's all ad lib, you know. So
yeah. All right. I'll last question. Just plug yourself. Plug Flat Cap and all of the social medias and stuff.
Cool. Okay, so Flat Cap's predominantly on Facebook. Hit us up on there. There's loads of photos on there. There's loads of videos. We sometimes do a Flat Cap Friday where we'll pick a band and chuck up 3 YouTube videos of them and see what reaction we get. We're on Instagram, and go check out the YouTube channel as well. You type in Flat Cap, you'll see the logo, you'll know it's us. And if any of you want any merch and you're coming to Adelaide, give us a shout, and if we can do an interview, if we've got the time, we'll do that, and certainly help put the bands out there. That's what we're about. We just like helping. We enjoy the scene, so we're a part of it. So come and hit us up. Be good to hear from you.
All right. Thank you very much, man.